by the tens of thousands so far this year. A flood of illegal immigrants, mostly from Central America, coming into our country. From the front door of illegal immigration, right here in McAllen, Texas. I understand that this has now led to a flood of lawsuits. Joining us on 710 KURV, Fox News legal analyst and Snapshot author, Lise Weihl. Welcome back to the show, Lise. Okay, Lise, who's suing? What do they want?
Well, the ACLU is bringing a class action lawsuit based on the idea that all of these children, these unaccompanied minors, are coming over here. They're being mistreated. They're not getting their due process. So that's one huge class action lawsuit that's going to be happening or is already in the works. The other thing is that every one of these unaccompanied minors now has the right and due process in this country to get their own lawyer. So that means they get a lawyer. The lawyer investigates, does discovery, hires other people to help them do that discovery. Why discovery? It's basically their homework for making a case saying that these kids that are here and should stay here because of humanitarian reasons. All of that takes time to put a case, time and money to put that. And then when they finally do get in front of a judge, which can be years down the road, that then costs money too, because you've got to find more judges to try all these cases. It's a mess. It's a disaster. And you guys are seeing it up close and personal.
Yeah, and that's key, Liz, and that's why we've got a couple of bills that call for dozens more judges.
Dozens more lawyers.
And court space to handle all of these cases and speed them through. And if Republicans don't go along with any of these bills, I mean, that's going to be a travesty.
Well, it's multiple millions of dollars. I mean, the Department of Justice is getting $15 million just for right now. I mean, just to get, keep going for a week or two. That's just the drop in the bucket. Because remember, the administration is asking for $3.7 billion. So what I would say on that is, look, if Congress does pass the 3.7 or whatever it passes, add something to that. Add what's called a rider to the legislation. In that rider, you can say, hey, as part of getting this money, we need to know the states need to have an accounting, what they're supposed to be paying for, who they're paying for, what kind of facilities are going to be they're paying for, when these illegal aliens are coming in. Because right now, guys, the federal government has no obligation to tell a state when unaccompanied minors will be coming in or not. So the states are just as far-flung as Nebraska. Yeah. The Nebraska governor all upset about it, saying,
all over the place.
Right, we've got 400 or 500 of these immigrants coming in, these illegal immigrant kids coming in. We don't know what to do with them because you're not even telling us that they're coming in. And it's very, very frustrating at the state level.
What is also frustrating is the fact that those who have been given their permiso, their permit to stay in the country and report to a court date, more than likely will not be reporting. Now, all this legislation, the mechanism and the machinery of government that's moving to try to provide these judges and these lawyers and this funding for this court system, that will help. That is creating the net that will catch and deport the immigrants that come in the near future. In the meantime, those who already showed up, they're under no obligation to show up at court. No one's going to go looking for them. And if they do, more than likely, because the asylum bar is such a high one that needs to be met, more than likely they would not meet that asylum requirement.
Right, but think about it. I mean, just logically, if you're here in this country legally as part of all of this, 60,000 plus unaccompanied children, and you're told that you need to go through, you have due process rights, that's great, and you need to go through a hearing. Well, what's the best that can come out of that hearing? You're allowed to stay versus you're deported. So why would you? Yeah. Let's see. I think, let me just toss that one around. I just don't think I'll show up because if I show up, there's a chance I'll be deported. Whereas if I just sort of disappear into the fabric of the country and no one's looking for me,
well,
I know I'm
pass
staying.
Comprehensive immigration reform and write that part of it in.
Another call for the comprehensive version. This needs to be done step by. It's complicated enough trying to peel back the layers.
You don't need to do it step by step if you have all of those steps written into one single bill.
We're having such a hard time trying to pull back the layers of this onion. It's so complicated. Now, you as a former federal prosecutor, at least, 40 judges. That's the number that's being thrown around. 40 more judges. Is that enough?
No, that's not even. I mean, that's where the $15 million is to hire attorneys. That's not. If you're talking about 60,000 people, unaccompanied minors, and those are just the numbers that are being bandied around. It may be many, many more than that. I mean, how can we really tell if the federal government isn't telling us? No, I mean, I think you're going to need more judges. It's not just judges. You're going to need investigators, right? As I was saying, to put together a case. You're going to need detectives. You're going to need you need counselors. You need, officers of the probation court. It goes on and on and on.
Now,
and
the Henry
on.
Clay in Cornyn bill is calling for these kids to, just like Mexican kids, to get a hearing within the first 7 to 10 days as they arrive here. I'm guessing this judge or this person would see these kids at the Border Patrol holding facility or some other facility that immediately holds them once they are captured by Border Patrol and gets to hear that case. How many of these kids can they see in one day? 40, 100?
Well, they could see a good number, but you go back to your premise of being able to see them, because what's been happening is that they cross the border, right? And Border Patrol then hands them over to another federal agency that transports them to another state, getting back to Nebraska or Arizona or, many, many other states that are getting this influx of kids. So once they're in that other state, then what do you do? That window of opportunity, that window of time that you could, put them through.
They are under
the
an obligation
cart.
to hand those kids over to Health and Human Services within 72 hours. Those are 3 days out of the way already.
But DSHS then sends them to another state.
Yeah,
That's the problem. So then
they're
they're put them on a plane. They put them
Well,
someplace
they can
else.
put judges in court spaces in those states, can't they?
Yeah, if you're going
Or
to be that
Atlanta.
organized.
Just like they're going to do here.
It's not that organized, guys. I mean, as you can see, even in your neck of the woods, it's just not. This is such a non-well-oiled machine. It's completely broken, and I only see it getting worse. And right now, it's not the kids' fault. I feel sorry. I don't mean to sound, without any compassion. I feel a lot of compassion for these kids, these children. But once they get here, they're not being taken care of. And you've seen some of the pictures of the facilities.
Yeah, the Border Patrol stations are awful.
These are right. This is
and
not
they're
a good
improving,
place to
by
be.
the way. To their credit, they just set up 1,000-kid facility here in McAllen, which will be more comfortable for them before they get remanded.
And they're going to be
over
remodeling a motel in Westlaco, too,
Okay.
to be able to
Okay.
handle
Now,
some of these
who's
folks.
paying for that? You guys in Texas are paying. Your state dollars are paying for that, right?
Well, at the local...
Actually, the motel renovation is being set up by, I believe, a religious charity group.
All right, so a charity, that's wonderful.
And they receive their money from the feds, from the Office of Refuge or something like that.
Well,
ORR.
this is part of that $3.7 billion deal, exactly. But I think what needs to go into that deal is to say, look, federal, you need to communicate with the states on where these kids are going and what facilities they're in. You can't just say, we're going to keep all of this secret, we're going to transport these kids secretly, because that's really what's been going on now to date.
Lise, thanks for your insight. Lise Weihl from Fox News joining us on News Talk 710 KURV.